All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be breaking down the top prop bets here for this Thursday night showdown between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Let's go ahead and get into it. So as always, I'd like to start off with a quick game preview. It is important to call out that this game is projected to be a blowout. So that is going to dictate kind of the prop betting strategy that you should have. Okay, so basically it's going to be more of a pass heavy script for the Miami Dolphins, and it's obviously going to be more of a run heavy script for the Buffalo Bills. At 12 points, we do have to worry about a blowout though, and that is the risk factor, and that's kind of the unknown risk factor as well. Like if it is going to be a blowout, when will the blowout occur? Will it be, off of the last drive for the Bills where they punch it in late to make it a 12-point spread? How will that occur? Now, obviously you need to agree with that or not, but it is worth thinking about that when you guys are placing your prop bets. And as well, calling out very high scoring game. Okay, almost 50 points on average. Now, I do want to call it, if you guys are someone that's betting on this game, this is important to look at. We are getting differing lines there. Some have it at 50, some have it at 49.5. Same thing with the spread as well. We're seeing some differing lines there. Some have it at 13, mybookie.ag. Some have it at 12.5. Then you also have like Bet Online AG at 11.5. So we are getting some differing lines coming in here for this game. So worth calling that out. For me, I really don't see a side that I like with this, especially with it being a Thursday night game, a short week for the Miami Dolphins. I might, and I don't like it. I'm not saying bet this, but I would probably be more on the side of like betting the under of like 50. That would be the route I would rather go. There's betting the under, just because teams are not going to be as prepared and whatnot. Dolphins have struggled, but I don't really see a bet there. Then it is worth calling out that we are getting some questionable takes here for some of their players. Jalen Waddle currently questionable. If he were to sit, that would benefit Malik Washington, who was a little bit banged up, had a thumb injury. He's going to be good to go. He would benefit a lot. And then obviously Tyreek Hill would also benefit there as well. Maybe a tight end like Tanner Conner gets a little bit more work as well for the Dolphins. And then it is worth calling out as well, Jalen Wright going to be active for this game. And so it'll be interesting to see if that leads to Devon Achane seeing a slight reduction in his role. Devon Achane's been playing 90% of the snaps. And I don't know about you guys, but if you're a Devon Achane fantasy football owner, you like that, but you're also like, all right, let's pump the brakes on that. Let's not have him play every single down. He needs to get some rest. Let's have him last the full season. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised if Wright does get a little bit more work throughout the game there. But worth calling out, that's not going to change any of my betting strategy for like Devon Achane. Now, let's just go ahead and continue on with the Miami Dolphins and looking at the top prop bets that we are getting for them. And it is worth calling out, we're really not getting that many good prop bets for them at all for this game. Again, one game slate, that typically is what you would expect. And so what I mean by good prop bets, especially in regards to like prize picks and underdog, where we're trying to game the game, we're really not getting those. So bets that are over 54% likely to hit. Now, it is worth calling out that for prize purposes, I do like Tua Tagovailoa to get over 14.5 for his fantasy score. Slight prop line difference between underdog. Underdog has him at 15. Projection data much higher at about 16.5. And then the average sportsbook line closer to 14.8. So nothing like too crazy here. But we do know it's going to be a pass-heavy script. And so if you are someone that's liking the bet here of him to get over 236.5 passing yards, which I'm fine with, I think you can get there, obviously. But I think I'd rather just go with him to get that over fantasy score of 14.5. Both of them go hand in hand, though. If he gets one of them, he should be able to get the other as well. But like I said, that's not really a massive edge. Actually, to me, with the Miami Dolphins, you could potentially try to get like an edge with Malik Washington if we get news that maybe Jalen Waddle is going to be a little bit banged up. I'm expecting him to play, but it is a short week. You never know. Malik Washington maybe then over for his receiving yards or his receptions. They are going to get him the football in short yard situations, although that hasn't really come to fruition thus far this season. They've actually, well, in terms of the passing game, they have used him in the rushing game, though, okay, twice or two times throughout this year, 2 games, throughout this year. He's gotten some rush attempts, which is not too shocking. That's how they like to use their weapons. He's kind of been that weapon of choice. But that is risky because you're only betting on him if you think Waddle's going to sit. And I don't necessarily think that. And so now it is worth calling out as well, Devon Achane. If you guys think Again, they're going to be playing from behind, but they're going to still stay in it for maybe most of the game. Devon Achane potentially for over some of his pass catching prop bets is not a terrible idea, but it is crazy to bet on a running back to get over like 5.5 receptions or to get over 40 receiving yards. I don't want to bet on that. And so when I'm looking at some of the good potential prop bets that we are getting for the Dolphins, I kind of think the best route to go is maybe bet on Minkah Fitzpatrick to get over his tackles and assists here at 6.5, a bet that a lot of people typically aren't betting on. The only issue that I have with this is that you look at the last two games, the way that teams have chose to defeat the Dolphins is by establishing the run and getting a bunch of rush attempts, okay? Jonathan Taylor, and then you also saw Stevenson get a bunch of work over the last 2 weeks. The Bills will rush the football a lot probably. Ray Davis, James Cook, but also Josh Allen. That throws another wrinkle in it because that doesn't really mean that Minkah Fitzpatrick is going to get some of those tackles and assists that he would typically get with a run-heavy approach, typically up the middle, whereas Allen's more spread out. That to me would be the reason as to why this prop bet wouldn't hit. But I still think it is a decent bet. And it is worth calling out. If you like this bet, you could attach it to like James Cook, maybe potentially for over his rush attempts, or a bet with maybe even Ray Davis. And then as well, guys, Rasul Douglas for under his tackles and assists here of 4.5. Not a crazy big bet for me that I like or dislike. Now, the only issue that I have with Rasul Douglas is that he is playing like 70 to 80% of the snaps. So still getting a high snap share. But the thing with the Bills is they, tend to spread the football out a lot. And so to me, I'm kind of, and again, with the run heavy approach that the Bills should deploy, I do think that is going to be something that hurts Rasul Douglas and maybe goes 0 for 3 on the season here. And so now let's go ahead and jump on in to the Buffalo Bills. So James Cook was someone I mentioned a decent amount already. I already called him out for his over rush yards at 68.5. He's at 67.5 on Underdog and several of other traditional sportsbook bets as well, or sportsbooks as well. I don't want to bet on his under fantasy score, but that is worth calling out, guys. 15 there on Underdog. If you guys like that, a little bit of a better edge there. We got James Cook and his receptions. Typically not a bet that I like to bet on. So let's just go ahead and pull up some other bets that we're getting for James Cook. Okay, so we do have James Cook here with 68.5 for his rush yards, which I'm fine with. But we do know Miami is pretty poor just in general defensively. So I could see just betting on James Cook to just have a good game in general, okay? And I like this bet because it's not that much higher than if you combine his just raw rush and receiving yards line. It's about 4 higher, which I don't necessarily love, but that's going to be baked in, typically speaking. If you find this line elsewhere, attack it there if it's a little bit lower. But the Dolphins give up 146 receiving yards thus far this season to opposing running backs, the third highest by a decent margin as well. They also have given up 200 rushing yards as well to opposing running backs, which is the 23rd in the league. So also very high there. And so I just think James Cook, even though he gets a limited role with his snaps, like we don't love that, guys, he's only playing, typically speaking, like 50 to 65% of the snaps. We don't love that. That, especially if it's going to be a blowout. But if it's going to be a blowout, it is going to be because he is having a good game, most likely. We did see last week, Josh Allen really didn't do much because James Cook was just going off. So don't necessarily love that, but I do love the way they get him the football. Okay. And so that's really what we're betting on. And we're betting on Miami to continue to suck just in general. And bringing that up, I don't know what you guys think about this, but to me last year when the Jets went overseas, I believe it was to England, it felt like they had to win that game or, the head coach, forgetting his name, was going to be fired. Okay. And that's exactly what happened. It maybe because it's a short week, it doesn't happen, but I do feel like the Dolphins head coach is on the hot seat here. I feel like if they lose, he could be fired. Because it is going to be a long week. I don't know. Maybe they wait until the bye week, but it does feel like this could be his last game, don't you? Are they going to be playing with desperation? That's kind of my question there. But it's a short week. I don't really expect them to be all prepared, which could further echo why he could potentially get fired, which that just leads us to want to be betting on probably more of those Buffalo Bills players' prop bets. So another player that I don't mind betting on just in general is actually going to be Dawson Knox, which is a weird bet. Typically speaking, I like to bet on players that we can know they're going to get like 50 of the snaps at least. He's only playing 43% of the passing downs. That's his 43% route share last weekend. It was about the same the week before. We could see some 2 tight end sets if they try to establish the run that way. They have been doing multiple different formations. That is why he's getting on the field. Last week, he ended up having 2 catches, but he had 5 targets. He had 1 terrible drop, which has also always been the knock in Dawson Knox. He is a very good athlete, decent blocker, great athlete. He just drops easy passes on big plays. Like this might sound weird, but he should be Mark Andrews. He just always drops passes. But they like his talent. Obviously, his role hasn't really went away. If anything, it's bigger than what we would have expected. So I don't mind him get over 1.5 receptions. Definitely interesting that his longest reception is at 10.5, and then his total receiving yards is at 12.5. Interesting there in general, but don't mind him. He definitely has a role right now. Then it's worth calling out as well, guys. We had an interesting bet here with Matt Prater. So given the game total of this game, I think this is a solid bet for us for Matt Prater to get over 1.5 field goals. He's gotten 3 the first 2 games, and I don't see why that would change this week as well. The only issue would be is if the Dolphins defense is that bad, and part of it as well is if it is going to be a higher scoring game, maybe it's a little bit of a shootout. Maybe it becomes more of that where you're going for it on 4th and 4 and not kicking as frequently. But I think they're going to be satisfied with not having to force things in that regard against the Dolphins as well, because they feel like they're going to have to just play not mistake-free football, but you're going to just eliminate your mistakes as much as possible, take the points when you get them, and you're going to beat the Dolphins. And so I think they will be fine settling for field goals and maybe against like Baltimore, even though they got the over, where they wouldn't be as likely to kick a field goal. So now, guys, let's just go ahead and talk about some of the other players where we're getting prop bets for. I don't necessarily see any lines where we need to go out of our way to bet on Josh Allen. I think they're pretty much all correct. Shakir as well, who is someone that wasn't involved really in last week's game plan. It'll be interesting to see his role here. They were just able to rush the football a bunch. They didn't need to do much offensively last week, the Bills. So it'll be interesting to see if he's someone that gets more involved in this game. We'll know early on, and we could be looking at this 4 receptions, but oh, we were stupid. Why didn't we bet on that? And that could easily be the case. But again, I think the way that you really attack the Dolphins is more with the running back, at least thus far. So like to me, guys, Keon Coleman is not really someone we need to be betting on as well. 3 receptions does seem to be pretty low for him. I think there's a great chance that ends up being a push, but also I don't need to go crazy with that one. And then as we're calling out Dalton Kincaid as well, his lines are all pretty low. Like he did not play that many snaps last week. Dalton Kincaid only played 48% of the snaps. Part of that was due to it being a blowout, but he had a 71% route share. So at least he is on the field a bunch. And I think this one does have a great chance to be a push. It's not going to make my bet of the day, but if you guys like this bet, I wouldn't talk you out of it. If you want to bet on him to get over 2.5 receptions as well, I think that's a great route to go there as well. And so, guys, we're about to go ahead and get into the 9 to 5 bet of the day. Do want to call it, like the video, subscribe to the channel. That does help out the channel a lot. If you guys are interested in betting on some other sites, Sleeper, Underdog, Better, or if you guys have never played on PrizePicks before and are looking to sign up, make sure to use the links in the description below. They'll give you guys the best offer as well as just an easy way to support the channel. They do kick back money my way when you guys do use those promo codes. So it is greatly appreciated. If you guys would like access to any of the tools that you saw in this video, you saw the PrizePicks optimizer and the PrizePicks cheat sheet, just easier for me to stay on one source, and I think it's easier for you guys to follow along as well. But do offer Underdog for that as well as NFL DFS tools as well. Working on getting the full NFL sheet. It's finished somewhat, almost ready to go, but I'm ready to get that public to you guys hopefully by Sunday. Kind of excited to get that out to you guys. But let's go ahead and get into the bet of the day. So it is going to be a 6 slip bet, kind of a weird bet slip. So James Cook over 84.5 rushing receiving yards, Matt Prater over 1.5 field goals made, Dawson Knox for over 1.5 receptions. If you want to do his receiving yards, you can. Again, I don't necessarily love betting on those types of bets because, well, we can't bank on his snaps to be there. But I think in a weird way, guys, I think these all kind of correlate together. Like if James Cook is getting his over rush received yards, it's going to be because Dawson Knox is on the field a little bit more. Okay, so that should lead to Dawson Knox getting 1.5 receptions. And then Tua over 14.5 fantasy score. Don't love it, don't hate it. Worth calling out as well, Riley Patterson for over 5.5 kicking points is somewhat of an interesting prop bet. Russell Douglas, and then, yeah, those two there for the tackles and assists. Not much in terms of analysis there. They just seem decent edges there. And I already went into detail as to why I like those ones. So that's going to do it for this video. I do appreciate everyone being here. Again, guys, like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys have not done so before. Comment your guys' favorite prop bet. If I missed it, leave us a reason as to why. That does always help out the channel. If you guys hate any of the prop bets, call it why in a nice way, obviously in a constructive way, really. That's always helpful. And as always, with any of the bets, if you guys disagree, if you greatly disagree, you can always bet the opposite. All right, thank you guys for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.